so excited to be here with all of you today for a little chat with one of my absolute favorite people, my beloved client, Colleen Faltot, who is an absolute wizard. Truly, I feel like you're such a multifaceted genius. You have run multiple different successful businesses, including in a previous, this life's incarnation, an award-winning gym. You possess a lot of very impressive business acumen. You have studied energy work. You understand so much about nutrition and about how to work with the nervous system. And you have essentially created this really interesting way of helping people move their own needle out of patterns of codependency and self-sabotage. Really, at the end of the day, right? In my mind, that is essentially just being really disembodied, which is a journey for so many of us. When we are disembodied, we tend to look to things like food and substances to help to self-soothe, which is not to judge anybody, because straight up, you will never hear me say that the human journey is not complex and that we are not all sometimes want to be I do not want to feel that feeling. And when we have things that compounded, right, from childhood on through the arc of our life, not to mention all of the energetic complexity that we all also experience because we have things from past lives and inherited things. Anyway, you have really beautifully, in my opinion, taken a bunch of your different areas of genius and synthesized them into a really cool way of helping people move their way out of those patterns. I always like to say moving the needle, right? Doing the work. So you have this really exquisite way that you help people. And so that is a little bit about you. I just realized I never introduced myself, which is really funny. I mean, this will undoubtedly get, sort of repurposed in a couple of spaces. Right now we are live in my Facebook group called We Are Here to Remember, but I am Andrea Donnelly. I am a quantum sound and energy healer, a spiritual guide, an advisor, a business alchemist and mentor. I, like Colleen, in many ways have synthesized a very large number of different things into a way of really helping people. Again, I love that idea of moving the needle. But I use the Akashic records. I've been a clear channel since childhood. I use light language. I use my own journey and history, having worked in finance. I once held a Series 7 license, which is what enables people in the US to be brokers. So I have moved through the world of business and money in the time leading up to me starting my business as an energy healer and a mentor. And I also took a lot of different sort of buckets of possibility and vision and, genius and capacity. And I said, how can I really help people? What can I do? My journey since childhood was to essentially remember the ways that I was born to really help people like you, right? We started working with each other, I think it was about 9 months ago. And what an amazing journey it's been. And I use my energy modality essentially to be able to clear from your field very quickly. And by, quickly, sometimes it literally feels like it happens overnight. Sometimes it, in the human experience, sometimes it takes longer to anchor into those things. But my mission and purpose is to really help entrepreneurs who are looking to try to essentially, you are someone who you understand so much about business, right? You have a lot of that business acumen. But what ends up happening is that we can get, sort of bottlenecked or hit a ceiling in terms of how much more we can expand, even if we're doing everything, right? We're showing up, we're, using ads to the best of our advantage or not, or, whatever it is, doing all the things that it is required of us in order to have a successful business. And most of us sort of organically reach a point where we where we hit sort of our own emotional glass ceiling, and we have to get into the depth of our own unprocessed emotions and feelings and all of that. And my methodology, I'm waving my hands for those of you who are joining us live, you're seeing me do it, but I essentially wave my hands, which are my energetic magic wand, and I help to really clear the things that we're not even aware of in our Akashic field and our energy bodies, in all of our multi-dimensional human experience. And the more we do that, we clear that stuff. It's like literally like fine-tuning a radio. The more we're able to hear our own intuitive hits, we're able to hear our guidance, we're able to really start to love ourselves in a totally different way, right? This is something you and I talk about all the time, Colleen. Like, I do a lot of things for people, but one of the things that I do in a way that is unusual, like I know it's a very special frequency essentially that I really help people to anchor into, but I help people to, it sounds so simple, but to love yourself. And when you start to love yourself, because we are told, and by told, I mean just like sort of the noise, right? The noise from the collective, from the media, from whatever the beauty, medicine, all of the systems that are sort of at play around us are running a constant narrative about how we're not enough. Yeah. And when we can really lean into being enough, not just being enough, but being like, wow, I am a divine, exquisite child from God. And whatever flaws I may or may not have, whatever mistakes I may or may not have made, like, I came from God and God loves me. Source loves me. My guides love me. My future self loves me. My body loves me. Literally changes everything. And it is in many ways. I always say that our spiritual gifts are the greatest currency we possess. But the more we can anchor into that frequency of radical self-acceptance and trust and love, completely changes the game.
Life-changing.
Like, just... Yeah.
I said before on the last time we went live, what was that, like 6 months ago? I think it was like around Thanksgiving time. I said that I truly didn't love myself until I started the work with you. I met you at an in-person event. We live about an hour away from each other. And I met you at an in-person event about 2 years ago. I was fresh out of rehab. I'm in recovery. And I was carrying so much shame. I was carrying so much shame, so much low levels of consciousness, guilt, regret. And you saw, I was like, Andrew Donnelly is going to be there. Oh my God. I was so nervous to meet you, which is funny now that we've been working together because you're so chill. And I saw you and I was like, and you paused and you looked at me and you connected with me. And you were just like, I'm so excited to meet you. And I was like, me? You're excited to meet me? Why? Like, who wants to meet me? I didn't love myself. And then, yeah, after that event, we just connected so much. And when I started working with you, I was not at a place to work with you. I was investing in myself. I had just closed my brick and mortar business. I had this thought in my head. I came back from going away to get help for addiction, and my addiction, I went to rehab for, addiction, but my addiction was much more than just drinking. My addiction was self-sabotaging behaviors, toxic relationship, food. I battled an eating disorder for a long, long time, just not accepting and loving myself, feeding into my past trauma, being so caught up in trauma, right? And I came back and I was like, I'm gonna have a story one day, which I have today. I am so proud of the last 2 years. And I don't share any of this in a way to brag. I share it to show people how you can turn everything around. Whatever you're going through today, your story today means nothing if you make the decision to step into creator over victim of your life. Everything in my life changed when I stepped into creator mode over victim mode, right? I was the biggest victim of life, the biggest victim, wanted to blame everything, wanted to force my will. But I'm divorced. I'm a single mom. I don't have any kind of financial support. I fully support myself on every level. And I was living out of my savings account, investing everything in business coaching, trauma healing, trauma certifications, all this stuff. And the opportunity came to work with you, and I was so scared. And you really held my hand through it. And you were like, Colleen, you need this. And I trusted you. And that was one of the best decisions I made my entire life, because I would not be where I am today if it wasn't, you were like the missing piece that put everything together.
It's so interesting too, because this capacity, when you were describing that experience, right, of me like locking eyes with you, being like, you felt so held and so seen in this way that was perhaps a little, uncomfortable, like you had a real who am I moment. And this is something that I have carried through lifetime. So this is like wacky. You've heard me say this. For those of you who don't know me, you can take this with a grain of salt. But as I understand my own soul's history, I am not from anywhere in the sense that like a lot of souls originated from, whether it's Earth or the Pleiades or Arcturus or Lyra or all kinds of different star systems, right? We can all be somewhere. As I understand my own soul's history, I was literally created by God to hold the vibration of love. And then I was someone who did like an Akashic reading for me a couple of months ago, described sort of my soul's origin point as I was a pink plasma ray of love. And then I chose to move out of, right, to like continue to maintain, to hold that frequency for like all of creation, to anchor into that sense of cosmic justice and love. And then I started incarnating with a group of my spirit colleagues, as it were, who are called the Order of Divine Light. And we literally move through space and time. Earth is a big point of focus right now for my guides. And for so many, it's how you and I ended up here at this time, is because there is a very, very big level of chaos, oppression, pain, cycles of really complex, painful experiences on Earth. And the Earth is done with it. She is not here for this energy of pain and trauma and suffering. It is really time for us to move into something new. And so every life I've lived on Earth, I've held that capacity. Like I can, and I've been able to do this since I was a little kid, but I can look at somebody and I can see in an instant what their soul was like created by God to do, which is a massive fucking blessing. And it's a little complicated, because then even when people are giving me their worst and their dumbest, I'm still like, but look at you, you're a child of God. So like my journey has really been to be like, I can see everyone's truth, even when they're up to some real hijinks. And also, meeting people where they are. But the beauty of being able to see that truth in people is that then I'm shown what needs to clear from people's field, whether it's patterns, places, people, things, trauma and drama and karma and pain from this or any lifetime, from your childhood, from ancestral inheritances with epigenetic things. It's like I'm shown this massive, very intricate web of things that need to be readjusted, essentially, from, if we think of things as like tuning a radio. And then my modality, this thing that I created over decades of metaphysical study, and also through other lifetimes too, because I've always sort of held the same frequency, and done an iteration of this every time that I've come down here to Earth, which again, like that makes me sound like pretty ridiculous and like highly grandiose. And I know that. I'm like, oh, you've heard of Jesus. What about this Andrea Donnelly character? Like, I know that can like sound, but I'm like, I'm part of an order of cosmic guardians who travel through all space and time, like, and help to restore cosmic justice. But the thing is that I think it's true And again, make of it what you will. If, if someone is listening to this and they're like, that seems ridiculous, like, I hear you about that. I mean, I literally laugh at myself often. I know this. And I've also always just intuitively understood that I held that capacity, right? Like, I knew from the time I was a young child in this lifetime that when I was near people, that their energy shifted. If I would like hug someone or hold their hand, even before I started to like formally learn energy things, people, animals, kids have always really wanted to like be in my energy. And I always knew that was true about myself. And what's cool is that I essentially, because I can see, right? Like we met, I was like, nope, whoa, look at her. She's got some stuff. She came down here to earth to do for the people, for the people. Like, let's help you, right? Let's help you clear all of that heaviness that we all have in some capacity. And just the more we can clear it, literally using the things that I'm always, I described to myself before we jumped on this call. I'm like, I'm a little bit like a nutty professor. Like, I definitely have that vibe of like in addition to having always been somebody who people wanted to be near, to like literally physically like touch me and be able to like anchor into that vibration that I channel. I really move in a way through the world that is very different than anyone I've ever met. I'm a real me, as I always say about myself. And that's also part of what I help hold the frequency of for everyone who comes into my field, is for you to be so just like shamelessly in love with yourself and in awe of the magnitude of your own gifts, of all of the things that you bring to the table. And I help, because of how powerfully I help to essentially like shine a mirror back on you to be like, holy moly, I am all these things this wacky woman is telling me I am. And then the more that you lighten your energetic load, right, through the energy work that we do, through the light language that I channel, through all, through like in your case, because we do private mentorship and you're in gold standard, right? We have like group Voxer. There's all kinds of different things that I use. A lot of pieces of the puzzle, I guess, is what it is, right? Like I do a lot of different things, some of which I'm still on a journey of being able to even like share with people, because I do so much stuff that I don't even, I'm like at some point it just becomes, and I'm getting better at it, but like really being like, oh, I do, we were talking beforehand. One of the things I do for you, for all of my private clients and for my groups, is that I make these manifestation vision boards that are, and sometimes I make them in a really big scale. Sometimes I do like smaller versions, but they're a really important part of like, I am a master manifester and I have been one in every lifetime, as far as I know. Someone else described it really beautifully and sort of comically as like, I had the capacity to be able to like wave my hands and make everybody around me a millionaire, which I love. I'm like, yes, might take a little bit of time, right? But like, I will wave those fingers because I want people like you, people like me, people who came here to have a big mission. I think it's really important right now for people of good hearts and minds, is sort of how I articulate it, to start to be able to create more wealth, conscious wealth that is being created because you are showing up for yourself and that you want to create a lot of impact. You want to be able to really hold space for people to essentially remember who they are in whatever version of that, however you do that, right? And I feel like you have really beautifully come into your own, and you have started to make a lot more money as a result of all of this stuff. And it's a trust fall, right? Because like, I don't always do, I mean, I will just admit this, I've gotten a lot better at it, but like, can't always even explain what I do for people. Like, I'm like, it's going to be big. Like, just trust me, like with me, it's very much like there really is something about like my frequency where when someone like it is an act of trust for people to jump into working with me. But when people do, their lives are never the same again. And it's such a beautiful unfolding, even if it gets a little messy, even if it requires, right? Because this is another thing that you've experienced too, is like, we say to the world, I want to make X number of dollars. I want this in my life. I want this in my life. And then the world says, cool, girlfriend, we have got you. And listen, we have a memo for you, which is a list of all of the things that you have got to tighten up and start to show up for yourself, change your boundaries. That person over there, they are not showing up with their A game. That guy over there, no. And it's like, it's an act. It requires a lot of each of us to really rise to that occasion. And you have done one of the most incredible jobs of really meeting yourself in this place of being like, I'm not going to feel the shame for the mistakes that I've made. I'm just literally going to do the best that I can every day, forgive myself, love myself, and keep moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, when you really, something that I have my clients do every day, they have them journal 7 things that they're proud of themselves for, 7 things they forgive themselves for, and 7 things they are going to do in the future. Like, what am I committing to myself? Right. And forgiveness is a daily thing. It's a multifaceted thing, but I'm at a place in my life that I'm a different person on every part of my being than who I was. And so at this point, anyone can bring anything up from my past to me. And I would add, oh, did you not know that this too? Because I want to show people how much you can let go of. But I wouldn't be where I am today had I have not of looking back on my past mistakes, past transgressions, anything with shame, and radically accepted it. And, you know, let go of the shame for it. It all comes from acceptance. Acceptance is where we're going to be able to move forward. If we're not accepting parts of our lives, if we're not accepting how our mom and dad raised us, anything that we've done, anything like that, it's carrying energetic weight with us into the future.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we're drawing it in. We're drawing more of it in.
Yeah. Yeah. And it like literally keeps us like trapped under the weight of it, right? It like makes it so that it's just untenable to be able to ever get any like, I don't mean any, like, obviously we can reach a certain amount of success still having those things in our field. But the more, I often liken it to like an energetic bag of rocks, the more we can lighten that load, right? Or I also use the, sort of idea of like, you have a house, a beautiful, massive, gorgeous house with like an exquisite view, but it's full of dusty old furniture, things that you bought 10 years ago when you didn't make as much money. And now your style has changed, and a bunch of things from, your great grandmother and this person over here and and it's like stuff that doesn't resonate with you anymore. You can't hire a decorator or go and do all that work yourself and get everything in the place that you want it to be until you clear all of that other stuff from the space. And if you think about, right, in that case, like if you think of your own human soul and body as then being essentially cluttered by all of these outdated things, whether they're people, places, energies, experiences, unprocessed emotions, it's like a very complex ball of yarn that most of us are. Our bag of rocks is like no joke. And I think the other thing too, for everyone, I'm getting a hit to, to draw this in, of course, right, there are people who we know have, lived through a lot in their human journey. But no matter how big the stuff that you have navigated in this life is or is not, no matter how, like some people, it doesn't matter sort of what you've experienced in this life. There is so much more to the complexity, whether it's past life energy, whether it's things from, again, that ancestral epigenetic inheritance, all of that, that we carry around with ourselves. So no matter how good your life is, right, from like an objective perspective, there's still things that you can clear. And and it's interesting to see because, right, when people come to me with more, of an energetic bag of rocks. Obviously takes a longer arc of time to start to really get in. For example, it can take time to get into the financial flow and to really trust and to start to be able to like have the synchronicities pop in and like really start to be able to like feel like you're really in that field of what I call like money, magic, and miracles, that frequency of those, of just the good vibes, of the synchronicities, of the creation, of that like feeling of being in flow. But the more that you can just keep on showing up for yourself, you forgive yourself for all that bag of rocks. And the more that it gets cleared, the more you start to be able to understand and hear your own guidance from your team of guides, from your higher self. It's not only that you hear it more clearly, right? It's that you literally are able, because you're no longer dragging around like the weight of the literal world and your ancestors and like all of this, your childhood stuff and all of it. You're not dragging that around with you. So your load is lighter and you're able to not just hear the guidance and understand it, but you're able to act on it because your energy changes completely and you're no longer weighed down by all that stuff. And you're like, okay, cool. I just got a great idea and I'm going to go do that.
Yeah. I mean, it's for me in my world, it's a big part about understanding your past, understanding your suppressed emotions, your suppressed trauma, so you can work through that, separate what you're feeling from your suppressed trauma than what the actual situation is. Understanding your cortisol levels, your dopamine, understanding how, many of us with issues with food, with issues with substances, issues with relationships, many of our issues are our hormones, our nervous system, our imbalance of cortisol and our need for dopamine. And so what are ways we can get dopamine that are not going to be hurting us,
Yeah.
But unless we let go of that past trauma, we feel like we deserve to be hurt. We feel like we deserve this pain. We deserve it. And, none of us deserve it. We're all souls living in a human experience that's hard. And we can all change our story around this very minute. This very minute can be the first step to a completely different life for you if you step into creator mode over victim mode of your life. It doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter what's happened to you. It doesn't matter what you've done to anyone. It's all about moving forward and what you're going to give your energy to. Are we going to give our energy to the things we can't control? Or are we going to empower ourselves and look at what we can control? Understanding the law of attraction, the law of assumption, the law of vibration, life-changing.
Yep. All of those cosmic laws, right? Those cosmic laws exist because they are meaningful and they do impact us. And again, it's part of really unlocking both our divine inheritance. And I say this so much, but that idea of how, in my opinion, our spiritual gifts are literally the greatest currency that any of us possess right now. And I mean that both in terms of like our literal capacity to be able to make money, and even beyond that, there is so much chaos in the collective right now because we are witnessing a total rebirth of every system that exists. This is a complex time to have chosen to come down here and to be in a human body and to try to navigate with a sense of grace and ease and flexibility and like just being able to forgive yourself of, to your point, that idea of just being like, all right, the way that I move forward is that I'm going to need to really adopt a very radical level of forgiveness. I always love it whenever you talk about how you have your clients do those different journal points every day. There's such a power move because I think the other thing too, and I think that sometimes when we're humans, we want an easy fix. And I'm not saying that to judge anybody, right? At all. Of course, we want an easy fix. It can be brutal to be in a human body. My life is more magical than I could possibly articulate. I am living my dreams. And I am a human, right? So like stuff happens, things happen that are not exactly how I would perhaps want them to go. And it is as much an act of trust to show up for yourself when things are not perfect as it is for you to show up when things are. Because when things are easy, it can just like feel sort of simple, and that's beautiful, and like we all like life ebbs and flows, but it's like, how do you then continue to lead yourself forward when you have a day where things are not good and you snapped at, your dog, and you were, kind of unpleasant to your kids, and like whatever the thing is, right? Like we all have, in my case, maybe, I'll just call myself out here, right? I tend to get a little bit of road rage sometimes. I'm very calm as a general rule, but like you get me in a car and then I'm watching people move in a way where they're like being inefficient and doinking out and missing lights. Oh, you have like never heard anybody swear until you have heard me with some road rage, right? And like I am a spiritually gifted genius person who probably could stand to be a little bit cooler in the face of road rage, but like it fucking happens. It happens. And so I think that it's also like when you talk about the tools that you impart with people and the way that you support people as part of how you hold space for people, it's like a constant invitation to continue to love yourself, even knowing that the human journey, no matter how good it gets, no matter how much money you have, right? We still all experience grief. We still all experience loss. We lose friends and family. We end up experiencing like moments of individual and collective hurt and pain. And it's like, how do you call yourself out of those things? And your work really is such a beautiful way of facilitating people being able to show up for themselves and embody that frequency of forgiveness, and then continue to move forward, even if sometimes it can feel like I took 10 steps forward and then, I, fell off the rails a little and took a couple of steps back, but like, here I am again.
Because that's the thing, when we understand our human emotions, we have emotional intelligence, emotional awareness, but then also understand your mind and how your mind works. It makes it so much easier to move out of these sticky situations. Like I'm just falling into old patterns. And I firmly believe, I was talking to a client the other day that was like, should I go on this retreat? It's like a 3 or 4 day retreat she was showing me. And it was like promising to, heal you like 10 years of therapy in this 4 days. And I was like, that's really great, but that's like the cherry on top of having a container, having a mentor to really hold your hand for 6 months to do this work, right? So that, you have someone who, as the days go by, as the days get sticky, as, you're doing really, really good. And then part of you doesn't feel worthy of doing good, or doesn't think you're going to be able to keep it up. So you self-sabotage and you go back into old patterns, holding a mirror to you and just keeping you on the road of where you're going. Our nervous system is wild. When you understand cortisol and how the more stressed out we are, the more we look for stress, you know what I mean? It's mind-blowing how we can self-sabotage so easily. And this is someone who struggled really bad to get sober for a really, really long time. And now I speak to a lot of people. I work with people, either in recovery, working towards their recovery journey. I speak at a detox every month. It's one of the highlights of my month. And a lot of people are like, is it going to be like this forever? I'm like, no, there's so much hope. I'm sober and it's my identity. I don't struggle to stay sober. I'm not on any medication. I don't struggle. It's a way of my life because I know that I'm worth more. I also have the tools to see where life will go. I'm able to sit in the master seat, and I'm able to look at my life and my decisions. If I, date this person, I know it's going to trigger this in me, and that's not going to take me to where I want to be. I want to be here. Like I'm wherever I am, I want to be here. And I'm able to sit in the higher level of consciousness around it and see, you know what, for me to get to where I need to be feeling really good about myself. I need to be strong in my sobriety. I need to be putting my son first. And if I allowed toxic people, situations in my life, I'm not going to be able to stay where I am. It's
Yeah.
not.
Yeah. 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 And I think that you just hit on another really big point. I know we've been talking for a little bit, but this can maybe be like the last point before we both let everyone know how to reach out to us, is that sense, this thing that you just described, right? Like people, a lot of people profess to want their lives to change, but they're not willing to actually do anything to make things be different. Like if you and you think about it, like I talk about this, I've definitely talked about this in the Gold Standard Voxer chat, but if you think about even like lottery winners, how many lottery winners win massive amounts of money, and then when people follow up with them years after the fact, how many people then are like, I lost everything, I went bankrupt, I somehow, not only did I lose everything, but I went from like living in a mansion I bought with my winnings to being literally homeless because they were handed something that they were not in fact ready for, and that there were a lot of really profound and powerful, essentially energetic disconnects and ways that they were moving through their own life, right? Where they either inherited or maybe won a bunch of money, and then everyone, right, in their field popped out of the woodwork, and it became like a gimme, gimme, gimme thing, and like people's boundaries. And, sometimes it's that like people literally go and just blow it all on like booze and coke and good gambling and like whatever the thing is. But people have this idea, right, that they like want a certain thing, but it's like, well, how are you going to carry yourself? What are you going to do in this now moment to become someone who can essentially steward, right, a massive gift from the universe in the form of money, magic, miracles, opportunity, self-growth, health, like whatever the thing is. In order to change, you have to be willing to change, which sounds so simple. But a lot of people, and this is not to judge anybody, because also like if it's not everyone's journey. Like some people, it is literally their journey to like experience things that to the outside observer seem untenable and unpleasant and too messy, but like we all move at the pace that we move at. And so it's not to judge anybody who's not doing that. It is literally their life path. But for those of us who are, right, have a growth mindset, want to like live in that space of transformation and try to do everything, like I always say that everybody who finds their way into my world is someone who, I believe has very big mission and purpose and is meant to really do things for a large audience. Like in your case, your work is so transformative. It's so powerful. The impact that people experience being able to have you, guide them is so incredible. And again, you've like taken a lot of really cool, different ways of being able to help people and said, I understand a lot about a bunch of different things, including both, the way that the physical body functions, the physiology of it all, the things about like hormones and our nervous system and all of that. And then you've like married it with your brilliant business acumen and the way that you have gone deep, especially in the past couple of years, and moving through these multidimensional worlds of like energy healing and breath work and all of this stuff. And you have taken a bunch of cool that would be cool on their own and really offered something very futuristic and important and new. And how can people find you?
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram. I'm at Colleen Faltot. There's a T on the end of it. The last T is silent, Faltot. If you want to join my Facebook group, Physically Fit and Spiritually Fed, I actually do tarot readings there every day. I go live and I do a little live energy reading. And I do my tarot readings. I personally love them. I think they're amazing. I do a little tarot read and they give you a mindset tool around it. So I'm like, all right, this is the message. And this is why you need to hear this message. This is what's holding you back here. Right. And then I do a group tarot read generally Wednesday nights. And then I do free coaching Friday, every Friday, where you can drop a question and I'm going to coach you. I've been through a lot, I've been through a lot, and I put myself in a lot of situations that didn't have to be as hard as they had to be, but my self-sabotage, my ego was so strong. And I wasn't really sure for a long time why my consequences weren't greater than they were. And I was doing a meditation the other day, and I got hit very clearly. Your consequences weren't greater when they were, because we always knew that you were going to come onto the other side and you were going to share and give and just give everyone hope. And so that's what it's about. You're welcome to join my group, and just get a little inspiration every day to just keep moving 1 inch forward, keep, rethinking those thoughts and making a different decision that serves your highest purpose in this timeline.
I love that. I love that. I love that. What a beautiful invitation for everyone to receive some of your sacred wisdom and medicine. And I am will you go ahead and just, you can drop in the comments on the live how everyone can reach out to you. And for those of you who are new to my world, you guys can find me on Instagram. I am at C Witchery. I have this Facebook group that we're recording live in, where I do a monthly energy forecast. And my website is weareheretoremember.com. I have all kinds of really cool ways of working with me. I have private mentorship. I have a bunch of really amazing group programs, including Gold Standard, the Mastermind, which Colleen is in. And I have a really fun group that is starting on September 20th called Cosmic Alchemy Academy, which I'm super excited about. I've run a bunch of rounds of it in the past. It's really about like anchoring into your spiritual gifts and clearing that energetic noise so that you can uncover the awesomeness of your spirit, essentially, and then be able to use that as essentially your, heart's navigation point. And it makes everything way easier. In my experience, having watched people move the needle, they make more money. They have awesome, it's incredible to see the shifts that people embody when they show up in my world. Money, magic, and miracles, man, that frequency, it is big and real and potent. And in your experience, you've seen too how it grows, it compounds and it grows over time too, right? Like you have anchored into consistent 5-figure months since we started working with each other, which I'm so proud of everyone, but I do have like a special sweet spot, obviously, in my heart. I have often attracted, I have a couple single moms that I work with. And of course, I want everyone, right, to be out there just killing it and making money and living their dreams and like changing the world from the inside out, essentially, really being the change that we want to see in the world. But especially for all you single moms out there, because it's a massive act of courage to have to like live that path. So for me to watch how you have like really embodied this like whole new level of authority and trust and capacity to receive, and like it's been a massive honor and a fucking joy. So yeah. All right, you guys, thank you so much. This was amazing. I hope that everyone has an awesome rest of your day. Bye.
Thank you.